Hi guys, this is AndroidNub, and these are the best Android games of 2014 Part 2. First up we have Mother of Myth, published by Playnery. This is a really amazing RPG. The graphics and animations look really nice, and the game has really high production value. So you tap to move in this game, and you tap enemies to attack them. This game has cool skills with gesture controls, so you draw out certain shapes to do certain skills. Works out pretty well. There's a lot of chapters and levels to go through, and the game has a fully voice acted story. This game has a Greek and Roman mythology theme, and the story is pretty good. This is definitely one of the best free RPGs out there, so go check it out. Next up we have The Walking Dead Season 1, published by Telltale Games. This is a super popular, multi-award winning game that is finally on Android. This game is like a point-and-click adventure game with an interactive story that kind of plays out like a movie. I usually don't play these kind of games, but the story is so good. It's really engaging, and there's a lot of dialogue choices that actually affects what happens in the story. You play a character named Lee. In the beginning of the game, you're in a police car headed to jail, but then you encounter the zombie apocalypse, and you go around trying to survive. There's lots of interesting characters, and again, the storytelling in this game is really good. There's 5 episodes, the first one is free, but you do have to pay for the other ones. If you're a fan of story-based games, this game is a must-get. Next up we have XCOM Enemy Unknown, published by 2K Games. This is a really high quality tactical strategy game. This is the port of the PC and console version. This game has really nice graphics, and there's tons of cutscenes that also look really nice. So you can control a group of 4 people, each character has 2 turns per round, and you can move behind cover and shoot at enemies. This game can be very challenging and does require a lot of strategy. There's a lot of different levels and objectives. There are different soldiers to level up and upgrade. This game has tons of content, really high production value. Definitely one of the best Android games out there. Next up we have CastleStorm, Free to Siege, published by Zen Studios. This is probably the best castle defense game out there. It's definitely the best one I've played. The graphics look really nice. Before each mission there's a nice looking 3D cutscene, and the game does have a story. So the goal of the game is to defend your castle. You can summon units and unlock new units, as well as new weapons and other stuff. In addition to summoning units, you can also shoot at the enemies. So you tap the screen to shoot at enemies, which is really cool and adds to the gameplay. You can also summon your hero character, which you can control with a joystick and attack with a button. You can also shoot arrows. This is a really awesome castle defense game, really worth checking out. Next up we have Epoch 2, published by Uppercut Games. Here's a really cool behind cover shooter. This game has a futuristic robot theme, so you play a robot and can move from cover to cover fighting enemies. You can swipe left and right and up to dodge, and you swipe down to go behind cover. You can target enemies by tapping on them, and then your character automatically shoots them. This game does have a voice acted story, some cutscenes. You can buy new guns and armor and other upgrades. There's boss battles, really fun action-packed shooter. Next up we have the Amazing Spiderman 2, published by Gameloft. Here's a really high quality Spider-Man game. The graphics are really nice, and it has a voice acted story. There's a big open world to swing around, and there's also cars and pedestrians on the streets. There's a main storyline. The combat is action oriented, you move with a joystick, and you attack enemies with a button. There's skills to get, and there's lots of side quests that involve helping people. Spider-Man fans will really enjoy this game. Next up we have Sonic Racing Transformed, published by SEGA of America. This was originally a paid game, but they recently made it free to play. Despite the bad initial reviews, I actually found this to be a really fun racing game. This is a Sonic kart racing game. The graphics look really nice, and it is a high quality racing game. You can unlock and buy new characters with in-game gold. There's tilt controls and touch controls. The only thing I didn't like was that you have to use the steering wheel for touch controls. There's no buttons to just move left and right, and I'm not a big fan of the steering wheel, but the controls are actually decent. Your vehicle automatically transforms into a boat or plane, depending on where you are on the map. This is a really cool racing game, and it's definitely worth checking out now that it's free. Next up we have Flashout 2, published by Jujubee. Here's a really cool futuristic racing game. The graphics in this game are really good, and there's a couple of different maps to play on. They're single player and multiplayer, although it is hard to find other people to play with online. The single player does have a career mode, and the game kind of plays like a kart racer, so you can tilt to move or use buttons. The controls are easy to use, and you can get power-ups to attack enemies with. You can upgrade and buy new ships. It's a pretty cool game. Next up we have Elements Epic Heroes, published by GAMEVIL. Here's a cool new fantasy action RPG. It kinda looks like Arcane Legends, but it's actually really different. You control a group of 3 characters, and you tap the ground to move and tap on enemies to attack them. There's 3 classes right now, but there's more to unlock. There's this town area where you get quests, and there's a lot of levels to go through. The graphics are decent, and the game is action oriented. You can also change leaders to level up your characters separately. This is a cool, kinda casual action RPG. Next up we have Trials Frontier, published by Ubisoft Entertainment. Here's a cool Trials bike game. The graphics and physics are very nice. You have buttons to move forward and backwards, and you have buttons to lean forward and back, which you can use to do front flips and back flips. There's a lot of different maps, there's missions to complete, you can upgrade your bike, and this is a fun game with lots of content. Next up we have Slingshot Braves, published by COLOPL. This is a really cool casual JRPG with unique combat. When you start, you can create your character and choose between 3 different weapons, which is kinda like your class. So to fight in this game, you slingshot your characters around. If your character touches an enemy, he'll attack it, and then he bounces off. If he touches another enemy, then he'll attack that one, and it goes to bounce around killing all the enemies. You can have 2 other people in your party, which are the 2 other classes. The combat is turn-based, and the slingshot mechanism is really unique. There's quests to do, some story elements, and you can also play co-op with other people, which is pretty cool. Cool, unique, casual RPG to check out. And last we have MLB Perfect Inning, published by GAMEVIL. So here's a really good baseball game. You can choose an American team to play, and there's season mode and some other modes. When you're batting, you can choose where to hit with a joystick, and you press a button to swing, and then there's these buttons where you can choose which base to run to. When you're pitching, you can aim where to throw, and then press the circle at the right time to throw a good pitch. After they hit the ball, you have those buttons again to choose which base to throw to. The graphics are good, animations are good. It's really close to a console baseball game. If you have a Tegra 4 NVIDIA Shield, here are some games to check out. First is Mount & Blade Warband, a really cool medieval war game with a nice action-oriented combat system. There's also Half-Life 2, a really popular first-person shooter adventure game, as well as Portal, which is a mix of first-person shooter and puzzle. These are 3 really good games, only on the NVIDIA Shield. Anyway, that's all for now. Make sure you guys subscribe for more videos, and thanks for watching.